the league that I played in my generation, I played with Luka Doncic's dad back in the day.
Wow, that's epic.
That kind of ages me a little bit.
Welcome to Coach 'em Up. My name's Tim Riley. We are not joined with Zach Zillner today because he does, in fact, have a real job that required him to be present. So just what a bummer having a real job is. But in Zach's absence, we are blessed to have Luka, I'm gonna butcher it, last name Hocevar. Hocevar. God damn. I literally just asked him off camera how to say his last name correctly.
Hey, listen,
I still butchered it.
I have some fun with like how it comes out, by the way, with all the different names. But I'm not.
Is this something you deal with constantly?
Crazy? Actually, so funny story. The way you actually pronounce it in Slovenia is Hocevar, right? It's like the C with the hat on the top. And when I lived in London, like I've lived in a lot of places in London, and nobody could get it right. So the professor would say Hocevar. I was like, it's Hocevar.
Yeah, you're right.
So
you know what? You're right.
Like it's been Hocevar since then, and like that's the US/English version of it. I've heard it all, man. So it's good.
Nice.
You got a new one.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to put that one in the
Hocevar.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put that one in the
bank.
In the bank right there. You know what I mean?
We'll stick with Luka for today.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, cool.
Yes. So, dude, thank you for taking the trip out here and being willing to hang out with us.
I'm excited about. I mean, the name of the podcast, Coach 'em Up. Plus, I've been listening, so I love the show.
Thank you.
And anytime I can talk about coaching, fitness, sports performance, business entrepreneurship within the fitness space, I light up, man.
Yeah,
so,
you're literally made for this show.
So I'm
excited
to be
here.
You're
the perfect guest.
I mean,
no pressure.
No, zero pressure. Zero pressure.
All right, so you have made a large impact on fitness in general. So I would imagine most people listening to this know who you are, but for the people who don't, tell us about who you are, how you first got involved in athleticism, sports, how you eventually became a coach, and then kind of just go down the list of all the things that you're doing now, which is very impressive.
It's a long. I'm going to try to keep this pretty bullet point-ish.
Sure, please.
Because I mean, I hope the journey does help understand like who I am, where I am, I guess to a certain degree, because I was born in actually Yugoslavia still back then. 81 was still before we had the war, before it split up into different countries. And when I was 7, we moved to London for 4 years. I say this to give some context. I've moved around a lot. But from when we came back from London back to Slovenia, I was about 11 years old. Basketball was just a huge part of my life. Being a knucklehead was also a huge part of my life.
Same.
Unfortunately, right?
You're in the right show, man.
Yeah, we're here, man. It's the Misfits. And but so that there was a kind of overlapping stories, I guess. Really, and the thing is, I try to share this because people always say like, man, did you just fall in love with basketball? And I didn't. I was a scrawny kid. I mean, from where I'm from, I'm 6 foot. And back then I was like a lot shorter than 6 foot. I was shorter than the average, I would say, basketball player, right? I was definitely the shorter kid. And so I never got picked. I wasn't that good. My genetics weren't great, all that stuff, right? So really, because of that, I had more of a chip on my shoulder to prove, I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. And, it's like, I want to prove that I'm good, that I belong. Because it'd be like, oh man, we got to pick this kid. There's only 10. Oh shit. Like it would be a lot of that. So I practiced hard because I was like, man, fuck it, I'll show you.
Right.
Like,
yep.
Now, I always share this book because this book has some good, I would say, concepts. Let's call it that. Like the So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport. So in that book, and that was a Steve Martin saying, right? Because they're like, hey, how did you make it? He's like, be so good they can't ignore you. And in it, he talks about the passion hypothesis, right? This idea that, you run into something and you're just like, I'm passionate about this, and you work really hard. That's not how it works. You need to have deliberate practice, which builds career capital, and the better that you become at it, the more passionate you become about it. And I tell this story because that's what basketball is for me. Like the harder that I worked, the better I got, the more I got into it.
Yeah.
Right? And I tell this to the, kind of generation coming up in coaching or anything else that you really want to do is like, you think the bug's going to hit you. And it's like, it's not, you you practice really hard, it might be tough. The better you get, the more you're going to be into it. So that's what happened for ball. And another thing that happened in this intersection was when I was 13, my mom worked at the bank, and her and her friend decided to open up a gym. So, and it was, in Slovenia, you have like this kind of physical education culture, is these buildings that the government kind of funds. And at the top of this building was a small, I'd say probably 1,500 square feet, 2,000 maybe. They opened up a gym. So she'd work at the bank half the day, then the other half the day she'd work the gym.
Damn, so mama was a hustler, huh?
She was a hustler, yeah. Like everybody was working. Like that's, growing up, there's a lot of work going on. And so I started going to the gym to basically, be around my mom a bit too. Because my dad, long story, he's like, when we moved back from England, he stayed there, right? Because 91 was when the war started.
Yeah.
We were fortunate to have it not last long in Slovenia. It was really bad, obviously, in Croatia and Bosnia afterwards.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends that I grew up with whose families were brought over.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot
of those friends, like their fathers fought against each other.
Yeah, that part was crazy. I mean, it was very, very,
crazy.
If anybody watched the 30 for 30 Once We're Brothers documentary, which is, if I watch it, I cry every time. But that was the reality of it, right? Whereas, my friends are Serbian, Bosnian, Croatian, like from all over the place, right? And to be able to have like, hey, like next week, you're going to be shooting at that guy, right? So it was very, very crazy. In that transition, my dad lost his job because everything went to kind of shit. But he was like, hey, I'm going to try to make this side hustle work and build a company. So we went back, and my dad ended up living in England for the next 30 years, kind of apart in a sense, right? He would be back and forth. And so it was like a way to, part of it to, spend time with my mom, but then I got into lifting. Now, I was very, very fortunate. So in that gym, just so happened that one of the top powerlifters, of his weight class was training there.
What?
And this is even crazier. At the bottom of that physical education building were two guys. It was a little small gym. And both of them, extremely high level gymnasts. One of them, Aljaž Pegan, he was like a 5-time world champion.
Holy shit.
So yeah, I mean, and you look him up, he was basically the straddle. At that point in time, he was like best in the world. Nobody's touching him, right? And they'd come up to the gym and show me stuff, right? And I didn't even know how good I had it. But it's like powerlifter, powerlifter taught me how to squat, bench, deadlift, teaching me all these things. But what happened is that, now I'm like 13, 14, and I'm putting on some muscle. But I'm also like jumping higher.
Yeah.
I'm able to first steps a little bit. Like I'm able to muscle the people that before I couldn't. So I'm starting to have these advantages. Because back then, like basketball players were still like, if you lift weights, you get slower, you can't shoot, right? And I was definitely disproving that, but I caught the bug. I caught the bug of training, right? Because I connected, man, when I lift weights, I put on muscle, I feel more confident, I'm better on the court. It gave me the stuff I wanted, right? So yes. Even personally, it was helping me, again, build self-esteem, which is, that's the magic right there. But then it was like, ball matters so much to me, and this is helping me better at ball. And that's when everything I could get my hands on, read, study, I was on it. I was like, I was 15, I'm reading Tudor Bompa, Verkhoshansky, Zetsurovsky, Mel Sif stuff, and I'm just like, just taking it all in. And so that's kind of like where that journey began. But if you asked me at that point in time, like, what do you want to be? Everything was like pro basketball. Yeah, pro basketball. This was just a way that I could do that, right? Yeah. So I think that's an important part of the story. Now, also from age 15, I was also involved in a lot of knucklehead things. So when I say ball saved my life, man, it saved my life. Like I would not be here if it wasn't for basketball. And so I made a decision when I was 8, because I was already playing, in Europe, the way it works, it's not like high school ball is big. It's like you play for the junior team of the pro team. Got it. So here's the pro team, under 20, under 18, under 16s, right? Okay. That's where the competition is very, very big. So, the guys, the league that I played in my generation, Beno Udrih, who was 2-time champion with the Spurs, Goran Dragic, who just retired, was in the league for, I think, 16 years.
Incredible.
Incredible player, incredible human being. I played with Luka Doncic's dad back in the day.
Wow, that's epic.
That kind of ages me a little bit. Roshan Nesterovic, we had an insane generation, and at one point in time, Slovenia had, I think, the most NBA players per capita because we're such a small country.
Wow.
In the NBA, there's
That's
like
pretty incredible.
It was like 6 players, I think 6 or 7. Jerzy Walsh, Primož Brizek, Boštjan Akbar. Like that was my generation growing up. So it's nuts, right? Like, but my point to that is like, I was playing Division II Pro, but I was getting in a lot of trouble, right? I was getting in a lot of trouble, like things that are not kind of like, stole a little bit of stuff. No, I was like, was selling drugs and just in the wrong circles. And I ended up, my coach was a huge influence on me in basketball because, he was like, hey man, I know what you're doing. Like,
yeah.
These paths lead this way.
He was different directions.
Very different direction. And like created awareness because, I always say awareness precedes change, right? If you don't know what you don't know, it's a problem. So he made me aware of it and I had some really hard decisions to make. And as a team, we went to the US when I was 17, Eastern Invitational Basketball Academy in Trenton, New Jersey, which was kind of like the number one place where all the high school, players went. But we went as an experience for our team. It wasn't, it was kind of like, let's see how we match up against the US players. It's going to be great for our team. And it was an incredible experience for me. I played really well. And the guy that was running our team, because we'd get split up into different teams, his name was Wayne Jones. I was like, hey man, you ever thought about going to, college in the US? I'm like, I was kind of like, well, I'm kind of playing pro in D2 already.
Right.
Like
what am I going to do over
there?
there?
A bunch of money selling drugs, and it was.
Yeah,
like,
I'm the man back home. Why the fuck I want to leave?
Yeah. It didn't come to my mind, right? Because I was like, no, I'm going to play like pro at the highest level.
Yes.
Well, when we came back that year, a lot of like stuff started happening to me that was like, oh shit, Joe getting killed. Like this is some real stuff. And Wayne kept in touch with me and he was like, hey, like if you want to come up and we'll do 2 back-to-back weeks of Eastern Invitational, come to Denver before, we'll train, altitude, all this stuff, right? Like,
wow.
And I was like, I don't know, man, but I really liked Wayne. Like he was a good dude and believed in me. And so when some of these things started happening, I emailed him and I was like, you know what? Like, why don't we do that? You know what I mean? Why don't we do that? Now, I have no idea how college ball works. Scholarships, whatever, none of that shit, right? Like, so I come up there it was early July. We train every day, hard, basketball, conditioning, all that stuff. We go to 2 back-to-back EIBCs. Like I crush it. Like I do really well. And you know who we played against? Like on my team, this is not like, so J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith was signing for, there was like Chris Paul was, it was a stack. Loaded, right? J.R. had all the North Carolina colors. Obviously, he ended up just going straight to the league, but he was savage. You could do 2 things: shoot threes from wherever and then dunk on everybody.
Those are 2 good skill sets.
Very good skill sets. But we beat him. Like we actually beat their team by like he was crushed it, but like we beat him by like 15 or 20. Like we had a stacked team, and I guess like coaches start coming up to me and they're like, hey, like, what are you doing in college? This, that, the other. I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, I'm interested. And what I didn't know, and it was like Quinnipiac, Delaware State, Western Michigan. Those were like decent like D1 schools. But like this is end of July. Nobody has a scholarship left. So basically they're like, yeah, man, like, walk on and, but these are like 40, 50, plus $1,000 a year schools. So that was just not happening. Like I remember even talking to my dad as like mid-sentence, like, yeah, like, dude, we don't have that, like, we don't have that money. We can't get that loan. And a coach was there and he said, hey, look, man, like I played at this school. I coached at this school. It's in upstate New York. It's a D2 JUCO. You can't get a full ride, but like you can get some money. It's not, it's cheap, like so on and so forth.
Right.
And I came back on like August 3rd and I was like, fuck it. I'm doing this. Not, when I say on a whim, it wasn't because really in my eyes, I was like, I can go play basketball. I can do college and I can get away from some of the stuff that was going on.
Sure.
Right. Because it's hard to get away from. Like even when 100%. You leave it, it doesn't leave you.
No, so it takes a while.
It takes a minute. So it's the changing environment. So I pulled the trigger. I started getting my visa stuff done. And this is another thing that I probably haven't mentioned in a lot of places, but my first day in school was, guess what? September 11th, 2001.
No way.
Yeah. So I was on a flight that was supposed to land 25 minutes after the towers got hit.
Whoa.
So that was because until I didn't get the visa until then, right? So it's coming in a little bit late. And man, we flew until we ran out of fuel, landed in Nova Scotia Airport. I spent a week in a military camp.
Whoa!
So that's a whole nother story in and of itself, which was crazy. But that was my like first day in school. Then we took bus to the city, back upstate New York, and then I was, 2 years. I went to junior college upstate New York. Then I went to a school in Southern Virginia for 2 years on a full ride. And then after that, I went to play pro. So my first year actually pro basketball was in Ukraine.
Wow.
So and then from there, I did a couple years in Slovenia, NBA Summer Pro League. So it was like, and I say this to say that there is some kind of context on the journey, but throughout that whole journey, I'm an absolute maniac and obsessed with training, like obsessed with it. You ask the people I play pro against, and Luka's dad was always funny because he's like, God, dude, why are you training so hard, lifting so hard? Like, he's like, dude, like, just calm down. I was always so into my college, teammates would ask me for programming. The crazy story is that like my third pro team, which was Triglav, a Division I team in Slovenia, the way I started kind of officially coaching to a degree was that, I created strength and conditioning programs for the pro team. Because the coach was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're 206 pounds, like you're tomahawk dunking, like you don't get tired, like who does your training? I was like,
me.
I do my training. Wow. Like, this is what I do. This is what I, this is what I do. And I was like, all right, man, I'll pay you a little bit, like, can you, hell yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
So that was, a little bit of a start, but I basically also, pro sports is not what people think it is. So like my last year pro sports, I'm pretty much not getting paid. A lot of the team is not, right? It's like they run out of money, and then you're doing 2-a-days, and it's like, hey, when do we get paid? It's like, hey, don't worry.
Yeah.
Like, man, if we sue, if you sue us, we'll go back to third division, and you won't get paid at all. So there's a lot of like, there's a lot of crazy stuff in pro sports that you don't see, you don't hear about. That's, I'm like training 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, and then working for my brother to make ends meet. And then that's when I started training. That's when I started training folks that last year in Triglav. And it kind of picked up to where, I trained out of this big box gym called Sokol. And then we'd also train some friends in the woods. That's how it started. Like with kettlebells, we'd bring out kegs. In Slovenia, you have Park Tivoli is like you have trails and pull-up bars and logs to carry. I mean, it's kind of cool.
It is very cool.
And so we rolled up there, and we'd start with some groups, 2-3 people, and it went to 6 and 8 and so on. In this Sokol gym I was training at, I just kept picking people up. So now I'm like, practice early in the morning, train people throughout the day, practice in the evening, right? Damn. And I'm making peanut because like I was charging almost nothing for training.
Right.
But this is when to me I was like, I had a little bit of that, like, man, I get paid almost nothing, but I fucking love doing this. Like,
hell yeah.
Like I would get done, and I'm like my knowledge and my expertise, to go back to that book, right? I've been at this point in time, I got 12 years of deliberate practice and training that I didn't even think about. So my career capital has been built up, right? And people are getting great results. Like I'm doing, I was studying so much and doing so much of this stuff that, I mean, like, this is 20 plus, it's 20 years ago plus, right? Like, I mean, I'm doing mobility drills. Like, people are like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that wasn't a thing.
And it's stuff that people just weren't doing. Queuing form and doing things that like, if folks were like, what the hell is this? And I was able to write for that Sokol magazine a couple articles, one on back pain, because I'd struggled with it like my whole life, and it blew up. So people were coming in and going like, who's the back pain guy? It's like, oh, that guy. So now I'm like busy, I'm busy. And this is when I went to my brother and said, hey man, like we got something here. Like there's something, like I got a gut feeling. And I paid a consultant who was like the number one kind of gym consultant in the country at that point in time. I was like, man, we got to open this coaching gym, right? And he's like, well, there's none because there's no market for it. And I was just like, you're wrong. Like, we're training people in the park, Tivoli, and it went from 2 to 4 to 8 to 15 to 20.
I got people carrying logs, man.
It's like loving it. Pay me for it.
Yes.
Pay me for manual labor, damn it. And then I was having clients. I mean, I had to turn away clients because I was like, man, I can only manage so much. Like, I mean, I'm doing this all day. So it took me a couple months. My brother kind of gave in, and we bought like a bunch of barbells, a lot of kettlebells. We were big into KBs back then. Basic stuff. And we got a 470 square foot room. And that was the beginnings of, what now is Vigor Ground. But that was the start. We started that gym there first. And after about, I think it was 12 months, I left because I got married to my college sweetheart in Renton, basically, and that was in Seattle. So I had to make that decision. And we started that gym in Slovenia, which, by the way, has been going on for 19 years.
Wow.
Strong. And it's like it's the number one coaching gym in the country. We started that genre, and we are the number one educational gym. Like, that's it, you know. And
incredible, man.
And then I rolled to Seattle and had to start from scratch. So I went back to, you know, LA Fitness, Big Box Gym, Vision Quest, and just worked the absurd amount of hours that you can work.
That's I just want to jump in real quick, because that is striking to me, because here you are, you're someone who has this wealth of knowledge, pro athlete, you have a gym, successful gym, you move here to the States, and you start essentially from the bottom again.
Yeah, it was definitely the bottom. I mean, the bottom from it, like, you know, I'm making what? I think
those are entry-level trainer jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And the thing is at some point in time, I had to go and be a training manager because I couldn't afford to just do coaching. So I had to sell, right? Which, you know, looking back, I was like, I'm glad
a nice
I did
skill
it.
set, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but I crunched the numbers, and I was like, I mean, this is like minimum wages plus commission. But if I like you were making for a one-on-one session back then, $15 for an hour.
Fuck.
It was $7.50 for 30 minutes because it had 30 and 60 minutes, right?
Wow.
And
that's wild.
And I was like, whoa, you know. And basically what I ended, like, you know, kind of crazy story is there's a lot of people I signed up. They're like, I just want to train with you. You can't hand them off. So I was a full-time on paper 50 hours a week, because that's what you could max out on, right?
Okay.
50 hours was max. Like in the system, you can go past.
Sure.
But then I would coach 20 to 25. Right? And I couldn't make that money because I was a training manager. So I'd go to the other coaches and go like, hey, do you want some free money? And they're like, what do you mean? Take the sessions of the people that I'm training, give me half in cash. And they were like, what's the trick? I'm like, there is no trick. But it was a way for me to cash out half at least. And then a lot of people—
You're scaling already, man.
A lot of people liked me though, because they're like, this motherfucker just giving me money. I was like, but, and you know, that was my street, you know, hustle.
Yeah.
And so, but I was working, I mean, I was working 80 to 100, you know, and then I became a weekend manager, which weekend manager means like you work Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
But then guess what I was doing Mondays and Tuesdays when I was off? I was training people all day.
Right.
So I was 7 day a week.
Just fucking
100, yeah, like all the time. And I went from there to this place called Vision Quest, kind of built that place up. Ironically, like there was an owner, there's two owners. I trained one of the owners, Chip, and I'm going to speed this story up, but they threw that like really hard kind of recession time, ended up buying out 15, 16 gyms and then sold it back to LA Fitness for like a little under 40 million, right? So,
oh my God.
I did not get any of that money, but it's like
But you saw them do it though.
I saw them do it, and it's like I was, you know, for example, I came in and said, hey, look, I became the busiest coach there, number one. Right. But I was like, we should do boot camps. You know, we should do group trainings. And they're like, we tried that. You know, we did like 6 weeks programs and it didn't work. I said, okay, but whoever did it didn't make it work. I'll make it work. Mm-hmm. And we're going to put it on EFT. So remember, this is 2008.
Yeah. People weren't doing that.
7, 8. So they're like, hold up. This is a big box gym. You're telling me, and it was $95 a month for twice a week. And they're like, hold up. So a person's going to pay the $29, $25, whatever it is, and then $95 to go to your groups. I'm like, yes. On EFT, recurring revenue. I'm like, yes. They're like, dude, it's never worked. I was like, give me a shot. Mm-hmm. And we launched, and right off the bat, we had 70 something people. God. You know, and it's like I built that model, and then when the gyms expanded, you know, that model stuck. So
yeah,
I made those gyms a lot of money. But but the thing is like I was always appreciative of Chip, because he was like, all right, I believe in you. Like, make it happen, you know, go do this thing. So I you know, I'll never be like, you know, they never, that was, you know, to me, it was like, let me do my thing. Let me prove myself, right? Let me bust my ass. And then while I was still there, I started, you know, what's crazy? That this week coming up is a 16-year anniversary of the gym in Seattle. Wow. in Renton. So I started a garage gym, it was 900 square feet. I was there and it was like no windows, no signs, black mold, you know, like
hell yeah, dude. Just black mold.
Really builds up your immune system. You know?
I thought you were gonna say blacked out windows. He said black mold.
No windows. So it's like they need to black anything out. It was, I mean, I got pictures of it. It was wild. It was like a little garage. But man, it became like a cult classic. You know,
100%.
it was nuts. And I was there for about 3 years. Went to like a strip mall, 4,700 square foot space after that. That was 5.5, I think. And then 8 years ago, January is going to be 8 years. So I bought this full building, right? So it's 12,000 square feet. And then, I mean, we have a bunch of tenants. Like we ripped it apart, put the gym in there. We have now physical therapy, you know, DEXA Fit Business with VO2 Max, Smoothie Fit Bar.
Amazing.
Med Spa, nail salon, blah, 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 right? Like, so it's like the building is my company that owns the real estate. And then obviously there's the tenants and everything else in there. So hopefully that wasn't too long, but I do feel like it gives some context to like the journey.
100%.
And you know, today, and my first, I would say, I've been coaching for about 20 years, and like my first 10, like there's all I did and all I was like train people, want to be the best in that, and then build the gym and be successful with the gym. And then others, you know, after that, like what happened is that people were like, hey, how did you do it? Right? Like, how did you, like, can you show me, and for a while I was like, reluctant, like, I don't know if am I really good at this stuff? Like, I mean, and then I joined, you know, a bunch of masterminds, and I realized I was like, oh shit, like I'm doing really well, you know, like compared to these people that I looked up to. I was like, wow, like I'm actually doing well. And I started doing the consulting side. So I've been doing consulting now for 12 years on a business coaching side. And have a company. I just relaunched it with a partner, Andy McCloy, who's savage. He's got an incredible gym down in Huntsville, Alabama. And he's been doing it for 20 years. So that's one of the companies. And throughout that process, you know, like I've always been into content. And there's probably 1,000 veering off stories that I could tell you that we could go into. But, you know, one thing that I really think that I did right off the bat was, I mean, I spent so much time and energy investing into becoming a better coach. I flew around the world. I mean, like for every person I have a story. I was still playing ball. Man, this has had to be, or I just got done. But like I flew to Birmingham, England, and went to a seminar with Eric Cressy and Nick Grantham. Like this is early days. That's how I met Eric Cressy. I mean, this is 18 years ago, and I mean like a crazy amount of time ago, right? And I was just thirsty for knowledge. Like I would go everywhere and learn for everybody. Like that's where I spent all my money and all my time and all my energy. And you know, at a certain point in time, like before there was video and social and all that, I started writing articles. You know, for 2 years, nobody read shit. You know, then it's like, you know, so, and then as somebody would.
But that was the way to get your name out there. That was the way.
That was like, you know, and I write for T Nation now, right? But back in the day, I was like, man, T Nation, right? Or Elite FTS, and like I'm getting on the, you know, table talk show, which is crazy. You know, it's like full circle on all these things, but. I was absolutely like, if I had a 14, 15 hour day, you know, I'd come home and spend 3 hours studying, right? Like 3 hours. I'm reading every article, going through the course, DVDs back then. Right?
Wow.
Like, DVDs back then. And then it's like, write an article, go to sleep 3.5 hours. And I'm like, look, I'm not recommending this, right? I'm just saying, like, I didn't know any better. It was like, this is what I know how to do. I know how to outwork you. So that I'm going to use that superpower, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
And the education, and I think this is something that's kind of starting to fall off, and I really kind of advocate for it. You want to become great, get around great people. Like even, you know, yesterday we're at C4 HQ.
Yep.
And like that part, like just training, talking, seeing what people are doing, and that stuff is like what I spent like the first 10, 12 years just entrenched in. I mean, I was at every cert, every seminar, like just around people, right? So you have fast feedback loops. And you're like, oh, that guy's the best in, you know, fill in the blank.
Yep.
And you're watching them like, hey, you do it. Give me feedback. And you would just, like in the 3-4 day, you know, you would excel so much and then go back to your gym and then apply it, right? Instantly, deliberate practice. That, I think, you know, courses are awesome. Like online stuff is great. Like I support it fully, but is nothing like getting around people.
Yeah.
And I was very, very fortunate about that. And, you know, another kind of interim story, like when I was 17 years old, my basketball coach knew this guy. His name was Srđan Đorđević. Say that really fast 5 times if you can. But he was like one of the top track and field coaches. I mean, he trained Marilyn Adi the last 6 years of her career. Brigitte Bukovic, who was silver medalist, 92 Olympics in hurdles. And, you know, my coach was like, man, I got this kid. He's a little crazy, but he'll do anything to get faster, jump higher, you know. And Srđan goes like, all right, man, tell the kid to come to practice 6 a.m. before school, thinking I'm not showing up. My ass is there,
let's go.
ready to go, and it's like, at first I annoyed, he was like, fuck.
I got this goddamn kid. Yep.
But after a while, he was like, man, this dude is really like insane. Like he'll do anything, nibble on the barbell,
right, sure.
Cool, I'll do it. And I learned, I was there with like Olympic medalists training. You know what I mean?
I'm so jealous.
Brigitte teaching me foot fire.
I love that.
It was insane. It's like, and I knew it was great when I was there, but I look back at it, I'm like, man, like this is, I worked hard and put myself in situations, right? Because I would say yes there. Like, most people would be like, man, I'm not getting up at 5 to get 6.
Right.
But I was like I one thing I did is I realized how big of an opportunity it was.
Yeah.
Like I can get around these people that are the fastest, the best, and I can train with them. And like this guy was so far ahead of his time, you know what I mean? And so that to me was all part of this deliberate practice. But it comes back to the same thing, right? Like I want to be around these people. Like I want to be, thankfully, like in basketball, like again, I would come home from college in the summers and train with Slavan. That's where I trained with Luka's dad a lot and Goran. My coach was Yudas Dots, who was a legend. And just a lot of NBA guys, and everybody else, like even in my college is like, yeah, I go home, I chill, I do some tournaments, like I'm doing 2-a-days, man. Like, I'm taking a little bit of time off, but
right.
But it's like now they're, kind of like off season. I'm in their preseason. So I'm doing preseason games with them against, EuroLeague teams and like top notch. I'm coming in and the coach is like, what the hell you been doing? I'm like, bro, I've been on nonstop training against elite players, right? Like in conditioning and doing the whole shebang. So it's the because people are like, man, I wish I had an opportunity like that. I'm like, well, the opportunities, are everywhere if you work really hard and you put yourself into those positions. But I'll tell you what,
100%.
Those
are the prerequisites though.
100%. Like it's, you subconsciously won't seek out opportunities if you're not ready. See, I think that's the thing that people forget about, right? Like,
you need to clip that, put that on a t-shirt. That's what you just said is very powerful, Luka.
So I'll give you an example. If you, you may notice that like I'm an obsessive person, right? So, so when I was like, man, I got to get better at speaking, communication, and I did Toastmasters, Roger Love, like I did all the things, right? But if you prepped for that and I said, hey, Tim, tomorrow, 1,000 people, man, I want you to speak on train on sports performance, right? If you haven't done the preparation, you might be like, man, you might be like, I don't know, I'm not doing this shit, right? But if I'm prepared, even if I'm afraid, I'm gonna be like, okay,
yep,
like, man, all right, let me take this opportunity. So that's where I think that people fall off. I have this like little formula, part of it I stole, but it's like, how do you build confidence? And it's like 3 things. One is competence, right? So if I deliberately practice the thing, I'm gonna like be more confident. Like, fuck, man, I've done a lot of 1,000 hours on this thing. Like, I'm confident.
Yep.
The second one is proof, right? So, hey, am I a good shooter? We go on the court. If I go 9 for 10 all the time, I'm like, proof, right? Hey, can I get people results? You're like, man, I got these high school guys, college guys, and NFL pro guys, NBA guys. I see it. Like I'm seeing, like they're stronger, they're faster, they're more mobile. Like we're doing the tests. Like they're telling me on the court they're better, right? Proof, cool. And number 3 is courage. Like there's points in time where you gotta, fuck it. I've never spoken on a stage, but I gotta go. Like I've been practicing, but I gotta go on the stage, right? So those 3 to me is like 1 + 1 + 1 equals fucking 10. Like, right? To build that confidence and self-esteem up. And opportunities, I know for a damn fact, you didn't do the work, there's something inside of you that like, I got blinders on to opportunities, right? But if I put in the work and I got this career capital, I got this skill set, all of a sudden I'm looking at stuff, right? It's kind of like, I'm gonna blank on a part of the brain that, you buy a car, you've never seen that car, right? All of a sudden you buy a car.
Now you see them everywhere. Everybody's got one.
That's the thing, because you're looking for it, right? And it's like, I feel like, I know this can sound foo-foo, but like internally, right? Like if I have the thing and I'm confident in it, how I see the world is different.
100%.
Because now I'm like seeing opportunities, right? And this wasn't that too long ago, but an engineer from Boeing is like, hey man, I want you to come in and talk to our leadership team about culture and leadership, right? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
fuck it. It's like, let's go.
Yep.
He's like, man, I see what you do. I see how you operate. Like, I want you to come talk to like our higher ups. And but it's like I had already prepped. I spoke. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm ready. You know what I mean? Like now, if I'm like never doing speaking, I'm never doing any presentations. I'm not, you know, and folks will be like, yeah, Luka, but what if I can't get on stage? I'm like, hey, the first 7 years, I built my own stage. I'm doing lunch and learns. I'm doing seminars at the gym, at LA Fitness, you know, where you have to go through 11 higher ups. I would just do the nutrition, you know, I would say seminar, and then they'd yell at me. And I'm like, well, I signed up for it, people.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it again without telling us. Great job, you know. But it's like, you have, like, as Dave Tate would say, right? The chart is shit, suck, good, great. You know, you're going to be shit at first. You know, then you're going to suck. Then it goes that way. It's very difficult to just start and be great. Now, I think nature, nurture, maybe, you know, everybody has their own talents, right?
Sure.
Like, so you might start one level up.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's not going to, like, you're going to have to do the damn work. If you want to be elite, if you want to be top 1%, 3%, whatever it may be, right? Like, you're going to have to do the work. There's just no way around it. So I do think that like, now, you know, when I talk to people and I'm like, hey, look, man, you're like shooting for a home run. Like, you haven't practiced a lot. You're hoping, you know, that you swing this sucker, eyes closed.
Yep.
It hits it, you know, and it goes out. You know,
What do they
like,
say? Hope is not a strategy.
No, exactly. I mean, hope is powerful, but it's not a strategy, right? Because there's no process to it, to where I'm like, okay, what do you want to achieve? All right, cool. What skills do you need to achieve that thing? Cool. What do you need to practice to build that skill? All right, cool. When are you going to do that practice? Right? Like, okay, let's go. And that could be, I don't get, you know, if it's like, hey, your 10-yard acceleration, or it's, let's get more protein in every meal. Yep. Like, everything is a skill set that you can practice. And so you break that down, because there's like, hope is like, man, I hope tomorrow no.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Right? And I think that's key, because I'm like, see, the practice is hitting singles, right? Hope is like, fuck it, I hope I clip this ball and it goes, right? Versus like, I hit a single. In baseball, you hit a lot of singles. Even at 35%, you're in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yep.
And so that mentality and that frame of like, every day I get up, like my day, I mean, I got a schedule. And still that 20 years later, in my schedule, guess what's in there? Practicing, like learning. You know, I have like going through this course, go to the gym and like practice the thing you learned in the course. My practice is still there, because I want to continue to become better as a coach, right? And I think that this is the thing that lit me up, right? And I don't know if I was saying this to Zach or you yesterday, but if my basketball career went to like, man, Goran retired last year. We actually went to his kind of spectacle game in Ljubljana for Christmas, right? Like around that time. Sorry, not for Christmas, in end of August this year. And 17 years, 18 years. That's an insane career, right? And I'm like, and he's 38, right? And he had a way longer career than just about anybody will have in that sport. You know, you look at NFL averages are 3 years. I train a lot of NFL guys. It's like, man, you're 27, you're done. You know, you're 28, you're done, whatever it may be. But let's say you go to 35, right? And it's like you start, you know, the body's not doing, there's very few LeBrons, the guy's freak, but it's, you're not, you know, your performance starts going down, so on and so forth, right? And you got more than half of your life to go, right? And by the way, nothing that you do will make your performance come back up at a certain point in time.
Yep.
But coaching, I can be 45, 47, 53, 61, 62. I can continue to get better.
Yes.
Right? All the time, right? And it's like, I'm, you know, fortunate that, you know, legends of the game, from the Mike Boyles, who I talk to often now, and, you know, I can go, Pavel Tsetsulin was a, you know, personal mentor for me. Like, I mean, I could stay 30 minutes just talking about everybody that's been you know, I've stood on the shoulders of giants, right?
Yeah.
But I think about that, you know, me and Mike are talking, I'm like, he's like, yeah, you've been in it for a long time. It was like, how old are you? He was like, oh, you know, 43. He's like, oh, that's how long I've been coaching. You know, it's like, all right, man, all right, you know, but that's exciting to me, because like, you know, one of the values that I believe you must have to be great at this is stay curious. Like, stay curious, you know, where I'm like, I know more than I've ever known, but I kind of feel fucking dumb, you know? Like, and you know, I meet up with people, and it's like, again, I couldn't say how fortunate I am, but I also, you know, sought all these things out, that all the people that are truly like top 0.1% in the world I've been around and have been mentors, now peers and friends that, I've just been like, that's what greatness looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have this two kind of rules, right? It's like collect role models, hunt for skill sets. So if you go, let's talk speed, you know what I mean? Like, okay, who are the people? Like Derek Hansen is a great friend. Stu McMillan is a great friend. I've been around Altus and like Dan Paff. I mean, just the best. Les, obviously, who's, Cece was just here. Mm-hmm. And like all these people, okay, cool. Like these are the best of the best. How do they operate? Like I've been to Phoenix where I'm like, how the fuck do you see that? Hey, Justice Calcaneus on the next run,
Right. What do you mean?
What do you mean? Like I'm good at this and I can't see it,
Right.
And then you look at 100 reps and then I'm like, was that it? And he's like, you're getting it. Slowly you're getting it, right? Like, but it's like that's collecting role models, right? And you can do that in every area of your life, by the way.
Yep.
Content, speaking, being a great father, like, right? Like
100%.
Collect role models, and that becomes the standard that you kind of shoot to. And by the way, you can build, fucking Megatron, right? It can be that guy is great at philanthropy. Crazy story is like 7 years ago, I was invited to Necker Island and I spent time with Richard Branson. Long story how that happened, but it's because of charity work that we did we've done 750, 800 charity boot camps at my gym, right?
Wow.
Countless amount of money. And it was an idea that I started like 16, 17 years ago. And then I did a program and I kind of won this thing called Evolved Enterprise. Yannick Silver launched a book and I was invited to Necker Island. But he was one of my, I would say Richard Branson is one of my kind of entrepreneurial heroes. And he was the role model that I collected for philanthropy and how he did business. And kind of full circle, I was able to spend time with him at Necker Island.
Life is so crazy, bro.
That was bananas to me, but it made me go like, damn, like I collected that role model. I read every biography, I took notes. How do I want to operate? And you can piece those together. It's like a friend of mine is an incredible father. Like I ask him, like I talk to him, like before, I'm having a kid now on the way, but it's like,
congratulations.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. But I'm like, hey, I want to, I'm reading the books, but like, man, I know, like you're my role model, right? For a father, tell me how you do this. How do you do that? What about this? What, I'm learning, right? So, and then, if that role model is like, you need this skill set.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's not great, or it's okay and it needs to be better. How do I get that skill set? Go to this course, spend time with me, do the mentorship, practice this every day. Okay, right? I'm collecting role models, I'm hunting for skill sets. And that's a forever thing. It's not a period of life, it's a way of life,
Yes.
And I think that's the other part of it too that I've seen now is that's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna hustle for a year or two and do this, and then I'm gonna be there. There is no there.
Yes.
Right? There's no there.
Yeah, and what you inevitably find too is if that's the mindset you have and you arrive at there, you realize this ain't it.
Correct.
This isn't the end, And I'm speaking from experience here. It's like, it's where it's happened to me multiple times. It's like, if I just get to this, if I just identify the role models, acquire the skill sets to put me in a position to get to this place, then at that time, I'm going to be satisfied, or I'm going to find this place of rest. And not to get that confused with gratitude or a level of accomplishment, because I'm able to acquire those things. But the beauty of it is not in, as cliche as it is, in the destination. It's the process.
It is. It's
to getting to the thing, you know?
Absolutely. And
it's not about the thing.
It's not about the thing. And the sooner that you figure that out, right? Because my life, a lot of it was driven by, I had to do a lot of things. There's a lot of things we probably skipped. I got married young, I got divorced, did a lot of stupid shit. Spent a lot of time in therapy. Best things I ever did.
Same.
And for
shout out therapists everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely get one.
Get one.
Which by the way, I think this is an important time to say this. It's better, way better, right? How we look at it. Yep. But it's still like, oh, you got therapy. What was wrong with you? And by the way, there's plenty of things wrong with me, but it's like, I go look at the buckets, right? Everybody understands physical weightlifting. Hey, you lift, you got 315 on a trap bar. Over the course of 6 months, we got 405. You got stronger, right? You were doing physical weightlifting. Mm-hmm. But what about mental weightlifting? What about emotional weightlifting? Are you hitting that weight room, right?
100%.
And therapy for me was, emotional, mental weightlifting. Like there's stuff that I needed to solve and work on, right? And I got into that weight room. So I think, there's a really important aspect to that part of it, and being able to, because man, I lost my thought because I was rolling on it. But I think that we don't zoom out enough and go like, hey, maybe I'm spending a lot of time in this weight room, but like actually to improve as a coach, I need to improve as a human being.
Yes.
And for me, seriously, that was me.
So many of my conversations have arrived at that same point, by the way, on this show.
Yeah.
It's the same. There's a lot of reoccurring themes, some of which you've already displayed and talked about. That obsession, frankly, whether at times unhealthy.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
To your own detriment.
Yes.
And maybe even the people you care about.
Yes.
Obsession. But walking through that process, staying curious, having an insatiable curiosity, a drive and ambition that kind of precedes, or not precedes isn't a word, but sort of transcends what maybe a lot of people have naturally, right? But all of those things kind of culminate and eventually arrive at a place, at least in the coaches I've spoke with on the show, and certainly my own experience, is you're eventually confronted with the fact that in order to continue progressing or moving forward and doing so in a way that makes life worthwhile, you eventually have to take a look at that side of the, to use your analogy, weight room. Because
it's like, if you don't, life will aggressively show it to you, which I've been shown it aggressively multiple times in my life.
Yes.
And you start, hopefully, because otherwise, I call it the cul-de-sac of life. So have you ever, this is a great analogy. So imagine an event happens. This event is usually, let's say, a bad event that you perceive it to be bad.
Got it.
Injury, relationship breaks up, you lose money,
business fails,
something, right? So this event, and that event drops you into what's called the pit, right? Now, in that pit, there is a lesson. It's a hard lesson to be learned, right? And it's actually hard to see the lesson even, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you do not learn the lesson, okay, which a lot of people don't, by the way. I've been there.
Same.
Been there, right?
Same.
As time passes, you get what's called a false lift, right? And the false lift brings you back to where you were. But it's like, it's time, hey, everything's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you didn't learn the lesson, the karmic loop repeats itself.
100%.
You fuck up again, back in the pit.
Yep.
You bullshit yourself that it's somebody else's fault. And you live in the cul-de-sac, right?
That is such an amazing analogy. But you're so spot on, man.
And now, if you learn the lessons, the cool thing, you go to the next level. And you look at your past problem and you're like, whoa,
yeah,
I can't believe that. Now, new levels, new devils. You're going to run into some,
big
and
facts.
That's for forever, right?
Yes.
Like that's for forever. And I think, for me, and I can tell you there's a number of things, like, bad injuries that I've had in my life, again, relationships that I ruined, like, all like stuff like, when I thought I was a great leader and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not, like all tough things, right?
Yeah.
Now, the most important thing is you're not going to get through life unscathed, right? It's like
you can't rise above human.
It's impossible, right? Impossible. But if you can, become aware quickly, right? And I think if you practice this, that what happens is, you kind of tone down your ego to the, like, egos can be good, but also like to be like, hey, what's going on here? Like, where's my fault in this? How can I improve? What can I do better? When you can do that faster, right? Like, you don't stay. I know people, I was there too, like, for years you're in a karmic loop, right? But now I feel, I'm far from perfect, by the way, but I see things faster.
Yep.
So then I make the change to fix it. And so that next level keeps coming, right? And I believe that that's why it's so important, and let's talk about just the human side and then the coach side of it, right? Like, who are you around? Who's that person that's challenging you, that's giving you a mirror, like, oh shit, that's me, right? Like, and you got, and so
that's how I showed up this morning.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And somebody you love and respect and is aspirational to you, so that you can, you're like, man, I don't want to be like that. I want to be better, right? And I know it's like sometimes this conversation when it becomes, and by the way, we could talk sets and reps and vectors of force production all day long. I'm about it, But this stuff is not talked about as much.
Yeah.
I think, and I think that's why it's so important. Like, environments trigger behaviors. Man, put yourself in the right environment. And
that goes back to what you're talking about surrounding yourself with
100%.
the people you want to aspire to be, or people that inspire you.
Absolutely. Because it's like this, the thermostat or thermometer analogy, right? Like, I'm like, if you surround yourself with a bunch of people that are like, whatever, man, who cares? Just chat GPT it. I don't care about seminars, certs. Now all of a sudden you're like, yeah, okay, cool. You're going out all the time. You don't get your rest. You don't get sleep. You wake up the next morning, you're not that great of a coach. You slept 3 hours, you're drunk. But if that's your environment, that's going to be, we're social creatures. So we adhere to the standards of the tribe, right? Like, people come and train with you, the standard is a certain way. Like, fuck, man, like, we're getting after. Man, I've never gotten after it like this. I mean, when I get pro athletes, we start training, they're like, shit, what have I been doing? You know what I mean?
Like, funny how often that happens.
You'd be blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I know that you understand.
And are most of your athletes, it's from the hoop world, right? Or are you everything?
Ironically enough, the most I would say pro athletes that I train, or high-low athletes that I train now, is football.
Really?
Which just, it's like one of those things that happened.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I got one many years ago, I got an O-line guy, and really help them transform. Mm-hmm. They talk, and it's become a thing.
You do a good job. Connect with people.
Absolutely. And it's like, now it's like, from the pro side, 75% of guys I train are offensive, defensive linemen. It just so happens to be like, and then, but here's the interesting story about this too. Like, look, I love training people. I love training athletes.
Yep.
I love training youth, because I just feel like you make so much more of a difference.
Totally.
But I always thought, like, when I came to the US and started training here, if you asked me, I was like, bro, I'm going to train all the athletes and make them absolute savages. Mm-hmm. And then, that's a tough business just to maintain in of itself.
Hell yeah.
And so back then I was extremely broke, and it was like, the boot camps took off, the semi-private training took off. So I'm training people that want to feel better, look better, lose weight, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And I found myself really enjoying it, but from a standpoint that I don't think you can feel bad when you see people transform, like, inside and out. And that lit me up. Like, it's like, oh man, I love it when people are into the process, right? And it's my mission to get them into the process and help them buy into what we're doing. So there is no, and I could sit here and go like, yeah, I trained the Cy Young Award winner the season before he was a Cy Young Award winner. People are like, what, how much is the athlete that is made the most that you train? And like, honestly, I can spur this out to just be like, hey, I'm cool, whatever. Honestly, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, every single day, the person that's in front of me, the group that I'm coaching, that's the most important group.
Tim, do you take supplements?
As a matter of fact, I do.
What brand do you take?
Legion. Legion has everything you want in supplements and nothing that you don't. So no artificial dyes, sweeteners. It's 100% real, from a whey isolate all the way to their non-stem pre-workout, which I absolutely love. Get the peach flavor. You'll thank me later. There's absolutely no filler. The only things that you're getting are the clinically effective dosages. Use code coachemup for 20% off your first order. You're going to get loyalty points, which is going to reduce the price every time you buy. Go hit up Legion today, code coachemup. I just got my new watch from Amazfit. It's called the T-Rex 3. And this is the best watch I've ever had in my life.
This is a $1,000 watch. Getting it $279, which is ridiculous.
Which
value.
Is absurd. It just looks good, dude. Military grade stainless steel, AI voice control, water resistant up to 100 meters. It tracks your heart rate. It has maps.
Battery life, dude. Once every 27 days.
Yep.
That's incredible.
The selection that I have for my watch faces, my heart rate, how many steps I've taken.
The UV index.
UV index is important for your boy. I use my watch as a stopwatch all the time. As if all that wasn't good enough, you get a discount because you're listening and watching us. 15%, dude. Amazfit.com/coachemup, or you can click the link below. 15% off. The best watch on the planet. Now, back to the episode. You know what I found, Luka? The people that I get most excited about, those things are cool, like the big names and stuff like that. But I've just, as time has gone on, the people I get most excited about wipe away all the stuff. Because I, like you, I've always trained Gen Pop, which I want to dig into, by the way, your experience and how that's helped.
Please, let's do it.
But if they want to be there and they want to get better, and they're dialed in, sign me the fuck up.
That's it.
I don't care. I don't
it.
care if it's Whitney, housewife, you know, and she shows up here 3 times a week because she's got nothing else better to do, but she wants to get better. Or if it's somebody who's fighting for that second contract. If you want it bad, and I see it, and you're curious and you want to know. Now, at the end of the day, that's not everybody. It's just not.
No,
and so it's on me to show up and be the best version of myself, regardless of how they show up or how I perceive them to.
Man,
you know what I mean?
If we can dig into this,
please,
I would love it because, you know, there's a great book, Stephen Pressfield, Turning Pro, right? Phenomenal. Everything from Stephen Pressfield is great. But, and like, this is one of the things I tell people now. I'm like, take pride in what you do, man, because unfortunately the standard is not that, you know what I mean? Where it's kind of like, oh, it's cool. No, like, be a fucking pro, you know, be prepared, be early, be like present, you know, this sounds harsh, but if your cat died and you come in to coach, I shouldn't know about it. I've actually had one of the hardest years of my life without going, you know, I don't want to cry here on the show too much, but it's, I tell you what, you come to the gym, dude, the day of that I found out something, and look, this is not to discredit emotions and feelings. My point that I'm trying to make is when you come in, you are there to make that client's day better. You're trying to make them better. Like, you know, they have a ton of their own stuff.
100%.
Me bringing my stuff, because they care about you as a coach, as a person.
Yes.
But it's like, I'm going to deal with that afterwards. I should deal with it, right?
Yeah, please deal with it.
Cry and therapy, like do all the things that you need to do. But the thing is, I'm there to put on a damn show, to coach the hell out of them, to make them better, to make that experience a great experience so they want to keep coming back. So they have an emotional anchor to like, man, when I come to Vigor, when I train with Luka, man, like that's the best part of my day. Like I feel like I can achieve shit in life. Not just like change my body, but like, man, I can go for that promo. I'm going to be a better parent. That's my damn job, right? And part of that's turning pro. It's just like anything else. It's like, you know, half of the, you know, it's been a really tough day. And it's like, look, and when I say I do care, but when you're here, no, that's not what you're doing. I think, by the way, like this has to be said, unfortunately, right? But again, because sometimes you're going to have people, and you know this very well, gym pop or athletes, I don't care. That, man, they're going through stuff, bro. Like, man, life shit, right? And they're not bought in, but not because of you. It's because of themselves or situations,
they got
whatever.
Some shit going on.
They got stuff going on.
And somewhere else.
And like, to me, that's where, like, honestly, I used to look at that, and this is where my career changed. You know, my first probably 10 years, I know my training shit inside and out, right? Like, I mean, you tell, like, man, I'm citing off Prolepin charts and percent, like whatever you want, like I got it, right? And there's a group of people that are getting really good results, and then there's a group of people that are, and then there's a group of people that are not. And I would be like, man, that group's uncommitted, you know? Fuck them, like I'm over here, like I know my shit, like you're not showing up. I had it all wrong. So I had to go through a shit show, a divorce, have to go into therapy and look at myself and go like, whoa, why has Luka done these stupid things? Why do I do the things that I do, right? Why do we do as human beings the things that we do that we know are not the right thing, so on and so forth. So this is where about 12 years ago, like I really dove into change psychology. I mean, like, again, obsessively. Right? You want to name the course? I got the course, I got the cert, I got, you know, shadow coach Debbie Ford, like you, whatever, right? But it was critical though, because I realized, I was like, here I am judging a person having struggles with their nutrition, with their, you know, with their training, with their lifestyle, with all these different things. And I'm like, because I got that shit in check. But look at this other area of my life where I'm falling apart and I'm having a struggle like they are. And it was like eureka moment for me, right? And it was like, whoa, you know, and then I started talking to clients and admitting some challenges in my own life and things like that, man. And they connected more. But I started seeing, I was like, man, okay. You know, then by the way, for every coach, Crucial Conversations, the book, you better read it. Motivational Interviewing and Fitness, and Nutrition and Fitness. These are not just must books. They're like, study the actual skill set that they teach you, right? And I mean, I could go down the list of the books and stuff, coactive coaching, and you know, there's a lot of stuff. But that really, really helped me connect with the people that I was like, they're uncommitted. They weren't uncommitted. I did not have the skill to help them move forward because I only knew how to move certain people at a certain level of commitment forward.
100%.
Right. And I think that's what happens a lot, right? With like, you just don't have the skill, and then you go,
Yeah.
it's them, like, well,
Yep.
versus like, nah, man, how about you go acquire this skill? Like, it just takes some more work. And that's tough. That's tough. I had a like, oh shit, like I thought it was the shit, but I'm not as much of the shit as I thought.
Yeah.
Now, and then it opened up a whole world, and I started like just diving into this.
Thank God for those moments though, right?
Man, like, I mean, it's the best thing ever, right?
Yes.
Like in the moment,
At the time, it don't feel
feels
great.
like the worst thing ever, but it really is a catalyst to the best thing ever. If you allow, again, back to the
If you take
cul-de-sac,
action.
right?
Yeah.
In the pit, learn the lesson. And that was the lesson for me, is like, and it allowed me for the next 10 years, almost, to be a significantly better coach. And like now, those people that I used to think were uncommitted, now those people, I can help them move along. And sometimes, 3 years later, this person that I used to be like, there's nothing I can do to help them. They're the most savage client I got. Like, like they're just like, is this chick 140 pounds, deadlifting 350?
Hell yeah.
Jumping on a 42-inch bar? Like the fight, it's like, this is gem pop, like,
right.
It's like, this is crazy. But, and those moments are also the moments that I remind myself to go, man, like there's so much more I can learn to be better for my clients. And by the way, this is, I think that coaching and entrepreneurship, like business ownership, is a journey in self-development. Like you will hit a wall. Like your personal development will be the glass ceiling that stops you from growth.
So
like
true.
You don't grow, the team doesn't grow with you. The clients don't grow with you and go to the next level, because you are your own bottleneck, right? Like,
Yeah.
And this is why
It's hard for people to grasp that too.
it's
I
very.
think you have to experience it probably. At least I do.
No, I think everybody does.
I gotta put my hand on the stove.
Oh yeah, and by the way, you're gonna have to do that. My goal for any, like even in business, right? When I coach business or when I coach in fitness, is like, you're gonna put your hand on the stove and you're gonna get burnt. And by the way, it's like sometimes it's important for you to do that.
Yeah.
My goal is for you to not have to do it 100 times, but maybe only
Facts.
15.
Yep.
Right. So if I can save you 85 burns because you're listening to the wisdom of people that have been there and done that, you're still doing it, man, you're gonna move way faster. Right. So, but I'm not. I don't believe that nobody ever gets burned. That's insane.
Yes.
To a degree, I would almost go like, hey, let's make it a controlled burn.
Yes.
Let's make a controlled burn. It's like after you're burned, you're like, oh, like, hey, let me treat you. All right, what was the lesson that you learned?
Yeah.
How would you do this different?
Yep.
That's coaching, right? And
Yep.
and I think you absolutely need that. And this is, you said something earlier about almost like, you keep doing stuff and it never feels like you've achieved, success.
Yes.
There, we were talking about there.
Yeah. The mirage.
The mirage, correct.
Yeah.
It's like Dan Sullivan calls it the gap. And I would say Viktor Frankl calls it a positive anxiety, like that where we should, where we should kind of be. The gap, but imagine this way, you achieve a thing, and that's what I was seeking, like for forever. Like, you're gonna see me, I'm enough, see, look, I achieved this, look at the money I make, look at, but it never was fulfilling because I was chasing a horizon that's always moving, right? So a lot of people do that until I was like, hey, look back. What are the things that you've accomplished?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, look, like I've came this far. I do want to move further, but I've also accomplished these things, right? Versus, Viktor Frankl calls it positive anxiety. It's like, look, you want to make sure that you appreciate and you recognize the great things that you've done in your life, the accomplishments that you've had. Now, if you just look at that, then that's a problem, right? Because you're stuck. You're not moving forward.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
Yeah.
well, Luka,
Resting on your laurels and just
Exactly.
sort of,
I used to be lean and used to be able to dunk it. Like, cool.
Cool, man.
What
Yeah.
about, bro? Like, what about now? So, but then it's like, if you're like crushing shit, but never stopping to see the accomplishment, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're just constant stress and anxiety. You can't ever enjoy, by the way, you're not enjoying the process either, right?
This is true.
So if I look back and I'm like, these are the things that I've accomplished. These are my wins. And I look forward, I'm like, this is what I want to accomplish because it's meaningful, it's purposeful. I'm attaching it to a deep anchor that's meaningful. This in between is the positive anxiety. And that's good. Like that, you should feel that, right? Because it's like this drive to want to be better. And we have, you've heard self-determination theory?
No.
Okay, so self-determination theory is pretty much like how human beings are intrinsically motivated, right? Okay. Meaning I don't need an external motivation. This has been studied, and there's like 3 things that drive intrinsic motivation. Number 1 is competence, right? So if you get better, you just feel better. Like I don't have to give you like, hey, you made 4 out of 10 shots. Now you made 8 out of 10. I don't need to give you a carrot. You're like, you feel like shit.
That was nice.
I remember when I was doing 4, man, I got 10. Competence drives intrinsic motivation. Like they did studies on rats where the rat was actually motivated to find the cheese faster, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, even if the cheese was not there, right? They started like doing it because they just wanted to do it faster. Like humans are, that and then some, right? So competence is 1. Build your skill set, get better, like you're gonna feel better and you're gonna be more motivated. The second thing is autonomy. Right. And these, by the way, in coaching matter a lot. Autonomy means choice. Mm-hmm. So I always say, like, even in a program, hey, out of single leg variations, which one would you like to go with? Bulgarian split squat, fuck that, I hate those. Okay. Reverse lunge, walking lunge. You know what? I like reverse lunges. So you want those in the next phase? Yeah, cool. What did I do? I gave them a choice, right? And they felt in control. Because if I'm like, you're going to do this versus like, no, I'm going to do this.
The locus of control.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so the more opportunities, and by the way, these can be dumb little things, right? I mean, they're not dumb, but like group training. Guys, what finisher you want to do? You guys want to do leg matrix? You guys want to do abs? Half and half? Cool, we'll do both.
Nice. What like, minute of each? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they don't know what we're doing, right? But it's like nutrition stuff. Like, okay, so you said that these 3 things are, low-hanging fruit that we could attack. Which one of these do you want to go with first?
Yes.
More protein in every meal? Great. Okay, cool. How are we going to track that? You're going to send me a pic, right? Mm-hmm. Every time I'm making them make the choice. Like, not all the time, but like in little spurts. So they're feeling like, man, I'm making choices. This is autonomy. I'm in control. That builds confidence. That builds intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
Right? And number 3 is relatedness / community, which is, again, being around people we talked about earlier, like tribes, right? Like I'm adhering to the standards of the tribe. My community supports me and challenges me. So if we get those 3 things in place, and I do this with my team, I do this with coaches, and we go down the list. Okay, competence. How do we make a person see that they're improving skill? I'll do this in a session, by the way. Let's say a new client, first week, goblet squat, right? And I'm like, all right, cool, do this goblet squat. Hey, I'm just gonna video you. I just want you to see how you're doing it. Okay, yep, cool. All right, video with them, right? And go over it with them. And by the way, don't overcoach. Think about like when you're sitting down to the box, pretend there's an egg on a box. Don't crush the egg. Yeah. Right? So softly come down and then think like you're being measured who's the tallest, right? When you come up. Okay, cool. Boom. So I gave them a couple coaching cues. Mm-hmm. I filmed them again. They're doing it. I don't even coach them the first couple reps. Like I think it's really important for people to be able to self-organize. Totally. Right?
I'm with you.
Like first rep, 7 cues. Like what the fuck? Like they don't know what they think they're doing everything wrong. Now, and I show them the video. Like what do you see? The first one, the second one. Ooh, like, yeah, I was hunched over here. I'm way more upright. I see what you mean. Like my butt's going straight down and not back.
Yeah.
Great job. So I just now no, you're not weighing 7 pounds less. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But like, I showed you better. You're more competent than you were in a previous set, right? Athletes, same thing. I'm videoing a 10-yard acceleration. See that knee drive? Look at that, like the back knee. See how it's like, it's not locked out, but it's like way too, like, man, let's do some, active hip flexor strengthening drills. Let's do some couch stretches with breathing. Let's do this, that, the other. Boom, film it again. See that difference? And it's like you were thinking about punching the ground away. Okay, cool. Oh shit, I see that. Like, look at the shape. See how the shape is better? You draw lines and it's like, whoop, everything's crooked. Ooh, nice little, the hashtag,
Shout out Derek Hansen.
Shout out Derek Hansen. And they're like, so I just created a moment of competence within the training session that made them more motivated without the carrot, right? So cool, we can go down the list of this. How do we do that with a group? How do we do that in athletes? How do we do that in semi-private training? And then by the way, once we see how we do that, what are those? Those are practice possibilities. How many times do you do that today with a client? 15 times. You just practice 15 times. Mm-hmm. How to be better to show people that they're more competent, right? Like, boom, okay, cool. We move to autonomy. Where can we do this? With nutrition, with lifestyle, with this, with that, so on and so forth, right? With kids, it's like, hey, which jacket do you want to wear?
Yes. Uh-huh.
That one, purple. Okay, cool. Great. Awesome. Great choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, right? Yeah. And then the community part of it is like, the relatedness, I think there's aspects of connecting people, right? And there's tons of ways you can do that in a session. It's like, hey, like Mary, Bree's been here for a while. Like, you guys are going to be in a group. By the way, I think your kids go to the same school. Which, oh shit, right? Mm-hmm. Boom, we got some of the relatedness, right? Then when you struggle together through a squat finisher, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like I always say, people that struggle together bond.
Yes.
It's pain shared is pain divided, happiness shared is happiness multiplied.
It's like like the camaraderie a group of people would feel if they were on a shipwreck together or something.
Correct. Yeah. Shackleton. Everybody should read that book, by the way. An incredible book, Endurance. But that, the thing is like, this is how, imagine, physiology and psychology together. It's like the art and science of coaching, right? And because we could go and go, all right, let's look at templates and training programs. And what do you think? And like, man, I love that shit, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't take the X's and O's and make the person do it without this underlying change, psychology, behavior change, right? And all of it is biophysiosocial, all of it. Like I started studying in pain and environments, and like today, Tim will go down and it's like, man, you're in a good mood, you slept, things are going smooth in your life, man, 500-pound trap bar deadlift, right? Mm-hmm. 2 weeks from now, but hey, our periodization is on point. Like, we got everything organized. Yeah, but fucking argument with the girl.
Yep.
Ate something a little funny.
Yep.
Cat died, right? Like 405, 410.
Yep.
What's going on? What's going on, right? It's like, and by the way, it could even just be a different mental and emotional state. Again, you can't
everything can be the same, but you're just not in the same level of readiness.
Correct.
And sometimes it doesn't even have to, there's not even like this like huge reason.
No.
It just is what it is.
It just is what it is. And it's like, because there's so many factors, it's impossible to even like pinpoint them sometimes, right? But if you can understand the whole biophysiosocial, what that means, like even with food, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, and like if I'm exhausted, I'm going, went through a bunch of trauma and stuff, like I never have a, struggle with, that cookie's calling my name. But then I got a whole bunch of shit going on in my life, and all of a sudden I'm like, fuck it. Box of cookies, right? Like, whoa, what's different? Mm-hmm. Well, man, it's not just biology, but it's like, or, you look at biology again, my girl going through pregnancy. Oh, I'm telling you, it's different.
It is different.
It's different, right? The biology aspect started changing all the other aspects, right? And so we are kind of like these Sherpas and detectives. I call like coaching to me is like, what's your Everest? Right? Like, my Everest is, I got to sign another deal. It's a man, it's my last, dude, I've had some injuries, my last year.
Right.
Man, okay, so your Everest is another, man, if you can get another 2-3 year contract, bro, that's your Everest right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to be your Sherpa, right? 75% of the time, I'm going to guide you. 15% of the time, I'm going to push you. 10% of the time, I'm going to pull you. Like when you're fucking falling off a cliff,
chill
right?
out. Yep.
Most of the time, I'm going to guide you. That's what coaching is, right? Mm-hmm. We find people's Everest that matters to them. They anchor, it's deeply anchored. And then we guide them. And we guide them through the shit show of everything, right? Because it's like, it's not, imagine how, and you understand this completely, right? My program dialed in. Fucking, we're starting with aerobic capacity. We got alactic work, the first phase. Hey, we're just building the foundation, accumulation phase, like getting full range of motion. Phase 2. But it's like, but you don't think about, oh yeah, by the way, they did have like, they had their twins, you know what I mean? Like this off season 2. So now I got 2, okay. They just moved into a new house. Like, and you're just looking at the program going like, no, this is dialed into the T. This is gonna fucking work. No, bro, how are you eating? What's going on? Like, oh yeah, that is kind of crazy. Like you're not sleeping as much. Okay, so maybe we need to flip around these. We need some heuristics here, right? Like it's like you cannot disassociate the person from all these 3 factors that just drive everything, and they're gelled together, right? And that's why like it's wild to me. Like you can't go through a fucking course and go like, oh, I went through this course. Like I'm gonna be able to.
Now I know. Yep.
Dude, you need reps. You need like 1,000,000 reps, and you need to be around phenomenal people and collect those role models to see how this works, right? And it's like, and that's why, I fucking love this game, man. Like this is like, I want to go study right now, dude. Like that's, you know what I mean? I want to go, I want to test shit out. Like something that somebody tells me, I want to, I want to look at it, I want to do it. And when you think about it, and again, obviously I'm biased. I think we're biased because of the industry we're in, but I see people 3 to 5 days a week, on average, like, cause it's between, groups and stuff, and I'm at gym a lot. But like, man, you tell me where else you see somebody 150, 250 times a year.
Right.
And I can put a little bit of a seed of doubt into their belief system that's not driving them to where they want to go, right? And create a better, like a better belief, right? And because, you know, when people talk about mindset, I'm like, I ask people, what is a mindset? And like, well, what do you mean, what's a mindset? What you think? I was like, no, a mindset is an ecosystem of beliefs, right? The ecosystem of beliefs build the mindset. So sometimes, like, I have to go and basically challenge a belief system.
Yeah.
How does that serve you?
sure.
How does that serve you?
Yeah.
Well, you know, my family's genetics. We just can't do this.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
How's that serving you? Do you think there's anybody else ever that has had genetics like yours, or maybe even worse, that has accomplished? Well, yeah. So you're saying it's possible.
Right.
Well, I guess it is. Right? Like,
yeah.
So because maybe like my X and O, fucking great.
Yep.
They don't believe.
Yep.
So how do I do that? Right. And man, like there's how many industries are there where I can do that every single day, little by little. And like a person over the course of a year, half a year, 2 years is like a different person.
Yeah. And
you know
their
what I mean?
belief system.
Their belief system.
Around what it means to be healthy, or what it means to be strong.
Yep.
Or to have muscle, or whatever. Those things can transform and look completely black and white.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many, this is just the first example that comes to mind, how many female athletes I've had, or female clients in general, where there was a certain belief system around food and how much muscle they have. And the two seem to be inseparable at times, right? That same person, after a period of time, more muscled, leaner, eating more food, looking back at this like, God, I can't believe I was doing that to myself.
Yes.
But how potent and powerful in that. And now, you know, moving forward, that this person can carry this belief system with them long after they're done
and not only
working with you.
That, and then what does that person do if they have a family?
Right.
Now that belief system they can carry over, right? Like friends, hey, how did you, holy shit, like, are you down 11 pounds, but that's insane. Like you're eating so much food here for dinner. Right. And it's like, well, Mary, let me tell you, right? Like here's, you know, and they give the stats. It's like, you should really look into that. Yeah. Like I've been eating 1,000 calories a day and I feel exhausted. I'm like, I did too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and the thing is, that's what I fucking love is that like the people become a lighthouse, right? I'm like, hey, I will influence you, but then you influence your kids and a part of your community. It's like this ripple effect, right? And that's, you know, because sometimes I get frustrated with, you know, you look at the health system and this, that, and the other, and it's like, hey, what can I do on a macro? And it's like, well, not much. I mean, but here's what I can do on the micro and the meso. It's like, man, I can influence this one person today, and this one person, and this group, and then that group influences people, and then you kind of work from the inside out. And I think, and that's what fires me up every day, right? I go to the gym, and I'm like, another opportunity, right? Another opportunity to just plant more seeds, you know what I mean? Just push it a little bit more. And I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't, you know, when somebody goes like, hey, Luka, man, my back doesn't hurt. My energy's so much better. I'm down 20 pounds, by the way, and I'm eating more like you said. Like I get fired up like day one.
Yeah.
It's never like, oh, you know, thousands of people tell me that. So like,
whatever, sweet.
Yeah, you know, it's never, man. I'm always like, fuck, this is so
I know,
dope,
it gets me
right?
hyped too, dude.
It's like an addiction, you know, but like this good addiction. Like
Right,
I gotta be addicted to something.
Yeah, it's not the kind that ruins your life, right?
Let me be addicted to that shit, right? Like, and that to me is like, man, coaching in a nutshell. As far as like, I hope somebody listens to this that's not a coach. It's like, fuck that, I want to be a coach. I'm like,
yeah.
Yes, you know what I mean?
Go.
Like we got to do more career days, man. Like and go to colleges and talk about this stuff. But I do hope that, you know, people also take it very seriously. I say don't take yourself seriously, but take it seriously. You know, I think that's very important.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Zach, guess what?
Dude, tell me.
We have partnered with Atlantis Strength. Atlantis Strength is by far the best machine equipment I have ever used. From high school, collegiate, and pro athletes, machines are underutilized. What Atlantis has done in terms of the build quality and reliability of these machines has made it effortless for me to be able to transition athletes where their output and intents can be as high as possible. You can learn more about Atlantis Strength on their website and their Instagram page. Type in Atlantis Strength. I'm such a huge fan and we're incredibly grateful. Zach, you know what my favorite clothing brand is?
Tell me.
It's Legends. I've been wearing it for a long time. From training to lifestyle, Legends has got you covered.
So what kind of gear does Legends have?
You can get shirts, shorts, underwear, socks, tops and bottoms, hoodies, hats, sweats. They've got it all. And they just dropped an entire women's line.
Holy smokes.
I know.
Tim, the great thing about these tees, I found I'm 20% stronger rocking them when I train.
Speaking of 20%, that's how much you save when you go to legends.com and enter in promo code coachemup or click the link below.
The Coachemup podcast is sponsored by Squat Wedgies. Tim, what are Squat Wedgies?
Squat wedgies are an adjustable squat wedge, 7, 13, and 20 degrees.
It's big enough to elevate your whole foot and not just your heel.
Because it's rubber, it doesn't slide on surfaces.
It's 22 pounds, so it's durable and stable enough for even your biggest athletes.
There's a 90-day risk-free trial. The shipping is free, and
Get 15% off Squat Wedgies with our discount code CoachEmUp15.
coachemup15 for 15% off of the best squat wedge on the planet. Actually, I can't believe how fast we've flown through this. I don't say this often, but I wish this would have been a 3-hour pod because
I do, yeah.
you know what I mean?
We do a Joe Rogan, maybe.
Exactly. Yes. But we've got some segments to wrap this thing up, and due to time constraints, I think we're going to have to rapid fire these bad boys, but no big deal.
Do rapid fire.
All right. So, first segment. This one is brought to you by Squat Wedgies. Shout out Squat Wedgies. Squat Wedgies, use code CoachEmUp15.
Yep.
This is called 3 Things. This is tough because it's like trying to pick stars out of a night sky. Oftentimes I feel like, but taking into consideration where you are today and your professional and personal development, let's say that there's that young man or woman who is on the precipice of making the decision to become a coach. What are 3 things, and these can be a mixture of actions, ideas, philosophies to adopt that they can start implementing to get to where you're at today?
2 right off the bat. Go help somebody. So, for example, you're not even a coach in your mind. So, by the way, this is an important thing, like James Clear, identity, casting votes, right? If you haven't coached people, you haven't cast enough votes to believe that you're a coach, identity-wise. Cool. Do you have friends or family that need help? Yes. Have you studied a bunch? Yes. If you're 2 steps ahead of them, you can help them, right? Go and help them. Get like 4 people, help with their nutrition, train them twice a week, or in a group, whatever it may be. Because the thing is, through the process, I always say, look, purpose is not found, it's forged. I got to work to forge my purpose, right? Man. And so go do that because through the experience of it, you're going to go like, oh, I love this stuff, or maybe I don't, or whatever it may be. But you're going to figure it out. 2, go intern. Find the best. Like, I don't care if you're in, some town that's like got 2,000 people. There's probably a trainer, or there's probably, a gym that's the best gym, best trainer in town, right? And if they've been successful for 10 years, 8, 12 years, they have a lot of stuff that they can teach you. If you can intern for them, by the way, for free, like this idea that like, oh, how much do I get paid for the internship? Look, I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do, but my point, like I'm 20 years in, I would go to intern for free for certain people and
Same.
If the best, commercial real estate guy, and I've done some commercial real estate, but they were like, hey, listen, 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week, you work for me, I will teach you everything I fucking know. I should be paying that guy.
In fact,
right?
yes,
a lot
100%.
of money, right? I'm like, oh, it's only for free, right? Like, So I'm like, go intern and like 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week, and just be around this person that has built a career and obviously does something very, very, very well. How they treat people, how do they schedule, how do they coach, what do they do? Be around that. Like, and by the way, obviously for a lot of people, travel, I traveled the world to intern and learn from people. But you can at least start like locally, right? So those are 2. Number 3, it really is this kind of, I think this is a big bucket, but look, I have an analogy. It's called the watch and the wallet analogy, right? You are committed to what your watch and wallet shows. Watch is your schedule, your time, right? Like, so when you're like, Luka, I really am committed to, fill in the blanks. And I look at your calendar, like, interesting. Learning's not on there. Your own workout's not on there. But you said you're committed to getting super fit and like being better at the thing. Right? Like, It's not true. The audio and video do not match, right? And like I need it to match. So I need like, so if you look, I pull out my phone right now, you will fucking see study. You will see training. You will see everything, you know what I mean? It's like, it's in there, right? Date night, it's in there. Yeah, it's in there.
Gotta be.
Or should I say the reminder to schedule it is in there, right? And in the wallet is like where you spend your money, right? Where does it, like if I look up the, there used to be, what was the app? I show you exactly where you spend your money. And you could put limits on it. Like, hey, once I spend this much on Amazon books, fucking ding me. You know what I mean? Like, but
you reached your limit.
You've reached your limit for the month.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, you start looking at it and it's like, damn, you're spending a lot of money like eating and drinking out, So you're committed to that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but my point is like you said you're going to do a lot of education. I see zero money in education, right?
Right.
But you said you want to be the best coach. So you got to, so 3 is like check your watch and your wallet and make sure the watch and wallet aligns with what you're saying that you want to do, right? Because like I've met with coaches and I'm like, people that want to get into the industry, they've done some stuff. I don't think it's for me. I said, tell me a little bit more about it. Why is it not for you, right? Well, try this and usually there's this expectation that things are going to just blow up. I said, look, I got a drill for you. For a year, give it everything you have. Like at the end of the year, you're like, I'm, die empty. That year, I could not have given it more than I did, right? And then make a decision. Yeah. Because there's nothing worse than like, and this is, by the way, this goes on a daily basis, on a micro and a macro level. There's nothing worse than showing up as a 4, 5, or 6, and then making a decision you're not going to do it. You don't actually fucking know. You don't know what you could achieve.
Yeah, based off what?
Off of what?
Right.
Oh, so you barely tried and you're surprised that it didn't work out. Now, give me a fucking like average 9.2 out of 10, right? Maybe not a 10, but just like you're working really hard to give your best and give it a year. Man, every person that I've done that drill with that actually did it.
Yeah.
Guess what? At the end of the year, they're like, I love this shit. I created so much more success because they actually were all in on it. And I would even say, put it this way, I definitely don't want to leave the podcast or have it be done without saying this. Folks will say shit like this. Well, like I'm at this job now, like, man, I don't, values of the company, whatever. I don't care, man. I'm just kind of like, But when I get the job that I want, then I'm going to really bust my ass. And I'm like, see, there's a problem there.
Yep.
What you're doing right now is you're practicing to be mediocre at best. And you're getting a lot of deliberate reps being mediocre. And you think that after thousands of reps of being mediocre, you will go to the place that you want to be and you'll be able to turn it on. There's no fucking way because you will fall to the lowest level of your training. And your training is a 4 out of 10, right? And that's who you are becoming. You know what I mean? That's who. So it's like I worked warehouse jobs. I worked for my brother's translation company. I worked for, I jobs left and right. And I will say this, I would find a way. Like I used to put these little fucking chips in Epson printers that would turn a, C into a C with a hat, saying Hocevar, right? Hocevar. And it's like, I was like, who puts in the most fucking chips per day? Like that guy. How many do you put in? Okay, I'm gonna fucking beat you. And I started, and it's like, I didn't get paid more. I got paid nothing. You know what I mean? But it's like, but my day was better. Yeah. Because I was like, I'm like, oh man, I got 32 more chips in than you, son. What up? And then it's like, it became a little bit of a thing. Yeah. But I felt good. I was like, hey, I'm doing the best job I can. And I think, by the way, like a lot of this came from basketball because I had to be a 10 out of 10 to make the fucking team. I played for Olympia. I mean, like, I can go down the list of players that played in NBA, played for EuroLeague teams. It's like, you made the 12? Man, that was like, you're pissing blood to make the 12. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was like, I had to show up every damn day to get on a roster, get playing time. Then I moved on to this other team, Yancha, and we went to, the Final Four 3 out of 4 years. But those things, then when I worked the warehouse job, when I worked this, when I worked the LA Fitness, it was like, oh, you guys are fucking around. Like I'm reading books during break. I'm maxing out my hours. I'm hustling on the side, training people, giving half to the other coaches. And then that became the only thing I knew, right? It's like when I started the gym, dude, I would prepare so meticulous. I'll be there an hour early, which was excessive, by the way, right? But at the beginning, it was like, man, okay, this people are going to be here. These are the bands. Like I'm going to tell this story. Boom, pull out my 4x6 card. I always have 4x6 cards with notes, right? Like, what's the story I'm telling? Whose birthday is it? All this shit. And we so prepared. And it's like, I was so anxious because I was like, this has to be great. This has to be great. This has to be great. And I did it for so long because I was broke as fuck. And I was like, I got to hustle to make sure that like I can make a living doing this. But then it became the only thing I knew.
Yep.
You wake me up in 3 o'clock at night, Luka, running a group training class. Hey, what's up, guys? Like I'm like, I'm
dialed.
Just dialed. Like, I just fucking turn on. But it's like, but that I just fell to the lowest level of my training, right? Like, and I tell this to clients, I'm like, look, I'm a stickler for form, but here's why. Because when, Mike Boyle's window test, right? You go to collective, right? And somebody's looking at you through a window, and I want him to be like, man, that motherfucker's form is on point. I'm like, that's my job, right? On point. Like, and the thing is, that's the only thing you know how to do. Yeah. You don't know how to do it any other way, right? So this is the standard I'm gonna create, and I'm gonna coach you up to it. I'm gonna challenge you, I'm gonna support you, right? The bigger the challenge, the more support. And it's like, that's gonna be your fucking baseline. And I'm gonna pride myself on that. And so I know the number 3 is like watch on wallet, but hey, those correlate to, you can't tell me like this is not for you if you really fucking haven't given it your all for a good chunk of time. Not like, I tried it for 4 weeks. Like, got it. Be a great ping pong player in 4 weeks, motherfucker. It's not happening.
It ain't
right?
happening.
And so I think that these are principles, right? Like we could build on top of these principles. I really think a lot of the, what we talk about is the principles of like what gives you success in this
100%.
industry. You know what I mean?
100%, man. I fucking immaculate, by the way. That was fantastic. Okay. This is brought to you by Atlanta Strength. No discount code. They just make really good shit. If you weren't a coach, what would you be and why?
Ooh. I kind of have an identity issue, right? Because I'm so tethered to this that I can't see it. But now what I will say is like, I do wear many hats. So I am an entrepreneur. I have obviously the gyms. I still find to me, I'm a technician, right? But I have an education company, right? And it's for coaching. I mean, I do consulting in the business space. I do think that I love storytelling. I love being able to pull out a story from people, from companies. And then, I really am good at helping people create value in the marketplace. So I'll just give you an example. Like my buddy, been in the financial world for 22 years now, still is building an app, really cool idea to help people that are financially kind of illiterate and like create a system where it's super simple for them to learn and like invest like baseline stuff. And, we're sitting down, he's telling me this stuff and like, oh, I think the tagline should be this. And he's like, what the fuck? It's like, I paid people to do this and like, you just did it. Like, yeah, like I'm listening to you. Like I get what you're saying, and I was like, man, you got to start creating content. And he's like, well, how do I do that? I'm like, give me your phone. Give me 5 topics, that you like, just give me the tagline of the topic, right?
Yeah.
I put up the phone. I'm like, 3, 2, 1, go. Hey, what's going on? I'm Coach Luka. I start going into the thing like, hey, do you struggle with, like hook, that? And he's just like, dude, how are you doing this? And it's like, well, it's a lot of practice, but
yeah,
he's in a financial world and I know finances pretty well, but not like him. But it's like, let's extract to create value for the marketplace. What's your tagline? It's like the website. You should know 3 things. Who are you? How can I help you? What to do next, right? That's the 3 things you need above the fold. And so I do, enjoy that. And I spent a shit ton of time becoming great at marketing because you need to do marketing, you need to do sales if you run a company, right?
Yes.
By the way, you're always marketing and selling to your clients. Yeah. That's the other thing too, right? What I realized is when I got better at marketing, I got better at coaching because marketing is communication, it's persuasion, it's influence. So when people are like, sales and marketing, like, dude, you'll be a better coach. And by the way, you'll be able to sell better, so like double whammy. And so I think that I would be pretty drawn to that. I do love philanthropy. I absolutely, I'm now trying to get more involved again. I did a bunch of kind of pro bono work for a high school basketball team, like pretty high level, but now like getting back into like, how can I do, the sport that really saved my life, it's like give back. And I mean, I've been giving back, but like, how can I multiply that? And I think that in many ways I got drawn to coaching because of what coaching did for me. And it's like, I'm like, man, can I do that for others? Because it completely altered my life. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
So it's like, if I can do what that did for me even a smaller extent, it's life changing, right? So I think there'll be some combination of that for sure. Yeah.
Luka, I wish we could keep going, but we can't. Also relatable with that because like everything you just said, I was like, God, he's spot on. We're going to have to go ahead and wrap up, but we're definitely going to need to have you back on.
Yeah.
Because
I got a lot more shit. I got a lot more shit. Yeah.
Where can people find you and connect with you?
I'll say probably the top 3 to 4 places. I mean, on Instagram, I kind of share a lot, you can find about other stuff, which is at Luka Hocevar, LukaHocevar. Same thing, YouTube. My YouTube channel has grown a significant, it's kind of crazy. People are like, you're a YouTuber. I'm like, no, but it's going to be at 600,000 soon. But it's all like education for coaches and fitness enthusiasts type stuff. So that's Luka Hocevar. I have a podcast called the Vigor Life Podcast, which we're going to get you on.
Let's
we're going to Zach
baby.
on. Like we're definitely going to do that.
Yes.
And then the educational stuff. So my gym is vigorgroundfitness.com. If you're in Renton, Seattle area, we have one in Slovenia. If you're ever in Slovenia, holla at me. Our gym there too. And lukahocevar.com is where the educational stuff is. So courses, workshops. I'm leaning heavily into that. I started that last January. And really my goal there is, I'm an absolute nerdy geek and bring things down to a level where somebody can like watch it and go like, oh, I can implement this today. Right. And not feel like these people are really fucking smart, but I don't know what to do.
Right.
A lot of education, unfortunately, is like that. And by the way, what I do is I'll go and say, hey, if you want to learn more about this, go take FRC, go take FRA. If you want to learn more about this, hey, go do Altus Mentor. Right? Like I'm going to lead everybody to the place that I've, got all this knowledge from and continue to. But there's a gap right now. You come out of college, like, can you train people right away? Like people are confused. And then you jump to an advanced course and you're like, I still don't know what to do.
100%.
So that's kind of been my spot in the industry. I feel that, a lot of my I would say friends and mentors are like, man, you're phenomenal at this. So I started doing that and it's working. It's helping a lot of people. And what's cool, I actually earlier today got an email, I made a course called Small Group Mastery. I did level 1, level 2, which is, for 15 years, I've done small group personal training, which is a long time, and created this training system, program design model and coaching model. And there's 25,000 people per week that train on that system now, because there's been over 1,000 people that have from 72 countries purchased it. And that's dope. That's dope. So dope, right? Like, hey, like this next week, 25,000 people in 72 countries are going to train on that model. Makes me want to shed a fucking tear. And it's like, it drives me to want to keep creating really good stuff, man. Like that's,
huge. Dude, thank you for coming down here.
My pleasure, man.
This has been a fucking blast.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do a lot of these,
it again, man.
Yeah,
we're going to be collaborating in the future for sure. Everybody, thank you so much for listening and watching. You guys make this show go, and we are internally grateful for you hopping on this ride with us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Peace.